Allegations about his private office and yet more rumours of plots against him. The start of a crucial week for Ian Duncan Smith.
Two-year-old conjoined twins are separated in a 34-hour operation.
Fresh attempts to restore devolution in Northern Ireland as Tony Blair meets Bertie Ahern.
And facing the FA, Rio Ferdinand is called in to explain his missed drugs test. Hello, good morning. This is BBC News 24 with Joanna Gosling and Adrian Finighan.
Good morning. A dossier containing allegations about the way Ian Duncan Smith ran his office when he became leader of the Conservatives is being handed to the MP's standards watchdog this morning. He could face a Commons investigation about the allegations regarding the employment of his wife as an aide.
Mr. Duncan Smith strenuously denies any wrongdoing and says the claims are malicious. But it all comes as MPs prepare to return to Westminster and rumours of a plot to oust him persist. And this week could prove justice.
It's 9:10. The Hutton inquiry, set up in response to the death of the Iraq weapons expert Dr. David Kelly, is reconvening today for just one day to hear evidence from its final witness. The Permanent Secretary of the Ministry of Defence, Sir Kevin Tebbit, was recalled last month, but he had to go into hospital for an eye operation. He'll be cross-examined by the inquiry and by the counsel for the Kelly family.
A new form of transplant could give hope to women unable to have children because of cancer treatment. Working with monkeys, researchers in Texas have produced the first live birth involving transplanted ovarian tissue. The technique may allow women undergoing treatment for cancer to store ovarian tissue and have children later.
NATO officials are being urged to end the use of sonar equipment for detecting submarines. Some scientists believe they may cause the deaths and the stranding of thousands of dolphins and whales. Members of the European Parliament are to deliver a petition to NATO headquarters in Brussels today, calling for an EU-wide ban on the devices which use high-volume sonar waves.
1 in 7 adults in the UK suffers from long-term chronic pain. That's according to the largest survey of its type to be carried out. The Europe-wide study also concluded that nearly half of those suffering... Well, that went terribly well. That's 9:15, the headlines. A dossier containing allegations about the Conservative leader Ian Duncan Smith is to be handed to the Parliamentary Standards Commissioner.
Twin boys who were joined at the head at birth are in a stable condition after a 34-hour operation to separate them.
Tony Blair is to meet his Irish counterpart Bertie Ahern as efforts continue to restart devolution in Northern Ireland.
And in sport, believe me, I simply forgot Rio Ferdinand's plea to the FA on the day he must explain why he failed to attend a drugs test. Hoping for the luck of the draw, Scotland and Wales want to avoid the likes of Holland and Spain in the Euro 2004 playoffs. And in snooker, Mark Williams lifts the LG Cup and he now holds all 4 major titles at the same time. The sport in full for you in a little over half an hour. See you then.
Thanks very much, Mike. Now, the American administrator in Iraq, Paul Bremer, has insisted the Iraqi people will not be intimidated by the terrorists who carried out yesterday's bomb attack on a hotel in Baghdad. At least 6 people were killed in the attack on the building, which was used by members of the Iraqi Governing Council.
Up to 100 people have been injured after a passenger train derailed in Chicago. All 5 carriages carrying around 300 passengers left the rails, along with the 2 locomotives. Most of the injuries are reported to be minor. The cause of the derailment is not yet clear.
The authorities in Belarus say at least 29 people have died in a fire in a psychiatric hospital west of the capital, Minsk. A government spokesman said the fire was started by an inmate.
Now let's take a look at some of this morning's front pages, starting with the Daily Telegraph. Taxman targets stamp duty loophole, says the Telegraph. Thousands of home buyers could face penalties for... Now let's get some business news. Sara Coburn is down at the Stock Exchange. Morning, Sarah.
Good morning to you. Thank you very much indeed. And we start with relatively good news as far as the London stock market is concerned, because the FTSE... And compared to Friday, the euro's still worth around that 70p level against the pound. That's it. See you later.
Thanks very much, Sarah. Now let's find out what the weather prospects are. Nina Ridge can tell us.
Hello there. Throughout this week we're going to keep a chilly wind, making it feel quite cool, but we'll also see plenty of dry and also some bright weather. That's the case across central and eastern areas today, but in the west it's a different...
Just after 9:30, this is BBC News 24 with Joanna Gosling and Adrian Finighan.
Good morning. A summary of the latest news. A dossier containing allegations about the way Ian Duncan Smith ran his office when he became leader of the Conservatives will be... That's a summary of the news. It's 9:33.
We'll have more in around 20 minutes. Now let's take an international look at the news and join our colleagues at BBC World and say good morning to Lyse Doucet.
Good morning, Adrian and Joanna, and welcome to us here at BBC World. Today we start in the United States, where doctors say it will be several days before they can fully evaluate the success of an operation to separate twin Egyptian boys. They were joined at the head. Time now, almost 9:45, a time to remind you of our international headlines. Doctors have successfully separated two young Egyptian boys joined at the head from birth. And the Philippine government confirms its most wanted terror suspect is now dead. In Bolivia, at least 10 people have been killed in violent protests against government plans to export natural gas. Much of the violence was centered in El Alto. Representatives of the U.S. Congress have visited the Mexican border city of Ciudad Juarez, where more than 250 women have recently been murdered. They met families of the victims and toured the area where the killings took place. The group said they would urge the Mexican government to provide more security in the area. Up to 100 people have been injured after a passenger train derailed in Chicago. All 5 carriages carrying about 300 passengers left the rails along with 2 locomotives. Most of the injuries are reported to be minor. The cause of the derailment isn't clear yet. And the Hutton inquiry into the death of the weapons expert Dr. Daly Kelly reconvened shortly today here in London for just one day to hear evidence from Sir Kevin Tebbit. He's the permanent secretary at the Ministry of Defence. He was recalled last month but had to go into hospital for an eye operation. And a new form of transplant could give hope to women unable to give birth because of cancer treatments. Researchers in the American state of Texas, working with monkeys, have produced the first live birth involving transplanted ovarian tissue. The technique may allow women undergoing treatment for cancer to store ovarian tissue and have children later. Members of the European Parliament are presenting a petition to NATO headquarters in Brussels, telling them to stop using sonar devices. They're believed to cause the death of thousands of whales and dolphins. Well, that's all from us here at BBC World. Now it's back to News 24 and the latest sport. Here's Mike Bushell.
Yes, Lyse, thanks very much. Good morning to you. Well, Rio Ferdinand will finally face the FA today to answer questions about his failure to attend that